everyone, how's it going? And welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In this video, we're going to be checking out the newly reworked Wukong, who just got updated a few days ago. Wukong was already a pretty good champion to play, whether it's in the Baron lane or in the jungle. And this rework, right, tried to make him even stronger, giving him more survivability, and also giving him more damage when it comes to team fights, which I think is going to be very interesting to see kind of in the long run, to see how he performs. Most of his rework was on his passive and also his first ability. His second ability is now pretty cool. You can kind of bait a lot of players out now with his second ability, which I think is really awesome. But this Baron lane matchup is going to be a bit of a difficult one to start off with. Range matchups in the top lane for any melee champion at all, whether it's Wukong, Renekton, Darius, anyone like that, is a bit of a struggle, as you can see. And this is kind of more of a struggle now for Wukong, since that he doesn't have a lot of healing now from his first ability. They reworked his first ability. It doesn't do that healing amount anymore. He now has like a little bit of health regen from his passive, which is able to stack up over time when you're auto-attacking enemy champions. And then you can get a little bit of health regen and also get a little bit of armor as well. So it gives him a little bit more survivability in terms of team fights, but in terms of the laning phase, it can be a little bit of a struggle, I think, for him now. This is why I've actually gone for Conqueror in this game. I tested out Grasp the Undying, but I also tested out Conqueror. So I think Conqueror can work really well with Wukong now, since he has a lot more survivability in terms of team fights and also a lot more damage. I don't know if Grasp is really that good. I did try Grasp the Undying one game, but since we don't have any healing anymore on our first ability, and we don't really have, too much going for us in terms of our first ability anymore, I thought I'd try out Conqueror, and this is probably, in my opinion, the best alternative. You see here in this range versus melee matchup, the only thing that I tried to do was just make sure that I survived. That was the big thing. Oh, look at the bait here. The Wukong clone now is so good, because the Wukong clone can now move. It can now walk as well. So you'll see a little bit later on how the Wukong clone can kind of bait it out. But a lot of people ask me in terms of, how do you play this kind of melee versus range matchup in the Baron lane, because a lot of people struggle, and you kind of have to do what I did this game, which is basically stay underneath your tower. Don't walk up too much to try and trade in terms of damage, because if they know how to play a ranged champion correctly, they can auto space you for a century. They can auto space you for such a long amount of time. And that's exactly what Ashe did this game. She did really well when I was underneath the tower to deal damage to me whilst I was farming the minions, but also not take any tower shots. I think she took like one tower shot right at the end, which is probably the difference between her dying and her not dying. But Nautilus did really well to actually help me out there with a gank, which is quite nice. I'm pretty sure I've lost like 3 cannon minions already this game. This is always going to be a struggle. You're always going to struggle in this melee versus range matchup. I think you kind of have to, I guess, like kind of suffer, I guess, in a way, in terms of that you're going to lose. Look at that. I completely baited the Ashe and she arrowed my clone instead. Oh, that was so good. I mean, the Wukong clone now, I think, is a lot more smoother than what it was before. I think that's one of the biggest changes, in my opinion, to the update that Wukong received in this patch. The clone baiting out the Ashe ulti there was absolutely huge. Now I can get a Tau plate as well, go back to base. Really nice. Another thing as well is that I did try out Divine Sunder a few games as well, but I'm thinking that maybe Trinity Force might be a bit better now as well. Like I said, I think Wukong has changed from being this kind of sustained tank in team fights to more of a kind of damage dealing team fight champion, if that makes sense. Whereas before it was all about the cooldown reduction on his first ability, giving him that healing and giving him that survivability through the healing in team fights, whereas now he relies a lot more on his passive, which is going to be stacking the armor and also that health regen over time. If I read his new passive, Wukong gains a stack of stone skin when he attacks an enemy champion with his base attacks or abilities. And each stack grants him between 10 to 18 armor and also a bit of health regeneration, which stacks every 5 seconds and can stack up to 3 times. So if you're auto attacking a few times, or if you're even using your ultimate on an enemy champion multiple times, you can actually stack this up really quickly, especially because your first ability is an auto attack reset just like that. And you can see the stacks that you have just underneath Wukong here, and this is able to me to win this fight really. This 1v1 fight was kind of won because of that new passive that I just mentioned, which is really, really big. You can see the amount of stacks you have underneath Wukong. You'll see a bit later on as I explain it. But basically with it, you're able to, I mean, I die here, unfortunately. Yeah, I couldn't really do much there. What you're able to do is that you're able to kind of stack up the passive, kind of bait the enemy in a way when you're stacking up the passive, and then look to try and engage afterwards when your passive is fully stacked, because that extra armor and that extra magic regen, especially if you're in a AD matchup in the Baron lane, can be a really, really huge difference. You know, you're getting roughly up to a minimum of like 30 extra armor during the laning phase. So especially in this range versus melee matchup, it's really, really huge because I'm able to use that to my advantage against the Ashe then. And because Nautilus has helped me a few times, I've actually been able to kind of get ahead of the Ashe now, even though I you know, in terms of gold, I'm probably not that far ahead of the Ashe because she just denied me so much farm in the early game. But I know that later on in the game, I'm going to be a lot more useful than this Ashe in the Baron lane, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure what I think about this rework. Like I said, I think he's going to be more of a carry now. I've only played a few games of him in the Baron lane so far. I haven't actually tried him in the jungle. But I do definitely want to try him in the jungle as well, because I think with these, you know, with the extra armor that you can get potentially, well, you don't even get the armor in the jungle because that's monsters in the jungle, so you don't even get that. I mean, you lose a bit of damage in terms of the, you know, the first ability, but it's not too much, to be fair. You see, it's so weird how the clone works, because you have to aim the clone in a certain direction with your second ability. But I thought that aiming the clone would mean that it would be in the direction of where the clone actually goes to. But it's not. It's the direction that you go to, and the clone goes in a different direction. So it's kind of weird the way it works, but it still works out pretty okay, to be fair, in the end. But all of his abilities got buffed though. You know, if you think of like the damage of his abilities, the first ability damage got buffed. The third ability damage got buffed. The ultimate got buffed. There's a lot of abilities that got buffed with Wukong. You can see here that, you know, Pantheon is trying to jump onto me here. I do win the 2 versus 1, just. I also bait the Pantheon W with my clone, which was kind of neat. And also baited the Q, but I thought I could survive here and maybe win, but he still does too much damage. Even with the extra armor from my passive, he still does too much damage. But I was still able to win the 2 versus 1 anyway. I didn't even see the Pantheon, unfortunately. I think if I saw him, then I probably wouldn't have gone for the play. Yeah, I think with the damage numbers being buffed on like every single ability, so the first ability, the third ability, and also the ultimate getting buffed as well. That's another big thing. Every single one of his abilities got buffed, which is really, really huge. And wow, my team just got completely wiped by Samira. That was not great. My team just got completely wiped by Samira, and that's gonna be quite difficult now. Pantheon as well is 5-0 this game. I think in terms of the build of Wukong, though, you can kind of be flexible with your build. You can see in this game that I decided to go for Death Stance as a second item because they have a lot of AD damage on their team. They have Samira, they have Ashe, they also have the Pantheon, which is going to do a lot of damage as well. So I do need to be extremely careful. I kind of misplayed this. I should not have used my E. Yeah, I misplayed this so badly. I should have killed Ashe, but I used my third ability. I mean, Ashe did pretty well to keep her ultimate for the end. I'm surprised she even did that, to be fair. But instead of using my third ability to deal more damage, I should have waited for my third ability to kind of try and gap close onto the Ashe, which I didn't do in the end, and that means that she escapes. Bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I mean, we're still ahead of the game anyway. You can see the mid lane's just pushing all the way in, and we're going to take this advantage to push the bot lane as well, because the whole of the enemy team is just basically going to be distracted by the by my team pushing in mid lane. So I take this advantage just pushing the bot lane, because my team's losing mid lane again, but I should be able to take this tower anyway. So you still do the same amount of damage with your first ability. Like I said, the only thing is you don't have the healing anymore with your first ability, which, as I mentioned before, I think is why Grasping Undying is probably a little bit weaker now than Wukong, on Wukong, instead of going for, you know, you can go for something like, you know, Conqueror instead. I think is probably going to be the best one to probably go for, I would say, especially in the jungle. I mean, jungle, you definitely want to go for Conqueror, since you don't really have that much in terms of you know, ways of stacking Grasping Undying. I'm going to go for engage here. Flash ultimate onto everyone. And this Samira is just dead. She cannot do enough damage to me. Yeah. I have a lot of armor, though, this game, you know, because I've got my passive, which is giving me armor. And also I have Death Stance, which I can get on base as well. I have a lot of armor this game. I mean, the only AP damage they have is Vladimir and an AP Malphite support, which I hate, by the way. Like, anytime my support picks AP Malphite, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I mean, this champion just offers nothing at all. Basically, you can see we're waiting in this bush because I saw the Vladimir, so I thought the Vladimir would actually do something. That's another cool thing that you can do with a clone as well. You can actually use a clone to jump over walls. That's another cool way of using it and kind of bait everyone else. But another kill onto the Pantheon. 5-2-1 so far. I mean, he definitely feels as strong as what he did before. Like I said, it's kind of difficult for me to kind of see if he's stronger or weaker. I think in terms of team fights, he's a lot stronger. In terms of the Baron lane, I don't know if he's as strong. Because like I said, he doesn't have that healing. He doesn't have that sustain anymore. I think in team fights, he got a lot stronger. He got a lot more damage overall. And I think with the whole Trinity Force plus Black Cleaver being a thing, that could also be another way that you can actually build Wukong. I was hoping my team would wait for me because I was pushing in the Baron lane. And I kind of wanted my whole team to wait for me, but unfortunately they didn't wait for me at all. And that meant that my team lost that fight. Do we even take Dragon? I don't think we took Dragon. It's a really close game though. 18 kills to 19. It's definitely a very, very close game. I'm trying to see if I can do anything to the Ashe. I'm going to try and jump over the wall here and maybe bait the Ashe. There you go. The Ashe walks straight forward, straight into my trap, baby. Should be able to knock up the Pantheon as well. Yeah, Pantheon should also be dead. Nice cheeky double kill. Jumping over the wall, getting a cheeky double kill. We should be able to take Baron from this as well. Jungler's dead for about, well, for 25 seconds. This should easily be a Baron for us. We've got 25 seconds to try and burst this Baron as quick as possible. So there are ways in which you can use Wukong's clone to walk away and try and help you bait the enemy team. But you can also use Wukong's clone still in the jungle. You can still like use it within close range of a monster in the jungle and still do that if you really, really want to. It's completely up to you the way you want to kind of use it. Samira's trying to carry, but yeah, she can't do enough damage to me. I'm pretty sure I'm like incredibly strong right now. I mean, I'm 5-2. I do so much damage. I have the crowd control and I just have the stacking armor that I'm just getting every single fight from my passive. Which is kind of crazy. Then you also have the first ability as well. I mean, the first ability, they also removed the health regeneration as well. But the first ability has like a new passive where the golden staff adds an empowering effect, on Wukong's basic attack every 12 seconds. And then takedowns will reduce golden staff's passive cooldown by 2 seconds. And the cooldown can also be reduced by 2 seconds per level of your first ability. So it still means that you want to max your first ability. I mean, the damage has gone up. The AD ratio has stayed about the same. But the damage going up means that you can trade a lot better in the Baron lane in terms of damage, but also get that little bit of extra passive damage from your auto attacks as well. Which can work, again, incredibly well when it comes to a team fight, when it comes to, you trying to do your best to deal as much damage as possible. Your passive timing is all on your second ability. Look at this. Oh, Vladimir gets baited. I love the bait that I did there for the Vladimir. I mean, I don't think I'm going to live here, but I honestly just had so much fun baiting that Vladimir. Like, I need to watch that back again. When I played this, I laughed so hard. Like, I was like, that is the best bait I've ever seen. Because look, the Wukong clone can now walk. So Vladimir thinks that's me and uses the ultimate on me. And let's be honest, I probably could have lived this. I tried to go for an outplay. I tried to limit test to see how much damage I did. Unfortunately, Vladimir had flash. If Vladimir didn't have flash, I definitely would have killed him. And also, I don't obviously have that much magic resist as well. So Vladimir still does quite a bit of damage to me as well. Yeah. When this happened during the game, I was like, wow, that is a cool new way to play Wukong, baiting enemy champions with your clone, which has happened multiple times during this game as well. I dodged the Ashe ulti because of the clone. I dodged the Pantheon stun because of the clone. I dodged Vladimir ulti because of the clone. The clone has definitely been buffed, for sure. First ability, I'm not too sure. Third ability is just a straight buff. It's just a straight buff from the third ability. Which is really, really nice in terms of like just the damage overall and everything like that. But yeah, it's been buffed by like 20 base damage early game and like 40 base damage in the late game. Like it's a lot of damage and it's being buffed by with Wukong's third ability. So kind of no surprise really that the third abilities are buffed. I mean, I think the big question is kind of the first ability. You know, would you rather have the healing of your first ability, or would you rather have the damage from your first ability from the passive? That's kind of what they've done. They've removed the healing, they've given the sustain, they've given the survivability to the passive, and they've given more damage to the first ability. I think overall just makes Wukong incredibly strong during team fights. I mean, you guys have to let me know as well. I mean, if you played Wukong, you'll have to let me know and see, you know, I'd love to know your thoughts about Wukong as well, to see what you actually think about the champion and how you think it could be really, really strong. We're gonna jump in on the Ashe here as well. Straight on there, not gonna do anything. Yeah, AP Malphite, by the way. Yeah. AP Malphite just did absolutely nothing. That's AP Malphite for you. We could take Dragon now. We could probably take Baron as well. Pantheon just ultied onto the Dragon, I think. Not too sure why he did that, but MF just gonna one-shot him, basically. So we secure that. We get that. I mean, I'm not too sure why my team tried to end the game. I mean, we definitely couldn't end the game because I'm pretty sure they still had the... Actually, no, actually, I think the shield protection would have still been on there, right? 16 minutes. I think it's up to 16 minutes where the shield goes on there. Honestly, my team should have just backed off there. Like, they went for the inhib and they tried to end the game, where we could have just taken Baron and Dragon and just could have finished the game off of that. It was way too risky to try and end the game through that sense. Of like just trying to risk it for absolutely nothing, where we can just easily win the game from getting Baron and Dragon. Sometimes you get baited as well. I sometimes get baited by Nexus shield. Like, that shield is like double the value in terms of HP from the normal Nexus HP. Trying to see if I could do anything. You can see there, like, I can just use my clones for just bait every single time. If I use it up against the wall, as long as I don't dash over the wall, then I can just use it as bait every single time. See, like this. Basically exactly like that. You can see, like, I can use the clone as kind of bait in the late game fights and try and force out ultimates or something. Like, the big thing I'm trying to actually do here is trying to force like Pantheon ulti or something, or a Pantheon stun or Malphite ulti or something like that. I'm trying to force something to kind of get the team to basically engage. But this Miss Fortune is so strong. I mean, the Miss Fortune just basically one shot the Samira with her ulti. It's kind of cool the way, like I said, it's kind of cool the way it works. Like I said, this is too risky. Like, we should just like be taking Baron right now. Like, these fights are way too risky. We didn't need to do this fight, but yeah, I mean, my team just wanted to constantly fight throughout the game, and now we can just end the game now. My team just wanted to fight over and over again. Didn't really want to do too much, but there you go. That is Wukong with the rework in the new patch. Like I said, let me know what you think of Wukong in the comments. I'd like to know your thoughts on Wukong, whether you think he's stronger now, whether you think he's weaker with all the changes that happened as well. Obviously his ultimate got buffed as well. His ultimate damage also got buffed. So yeah, a lot more damage overall for Wukong, a lot more carry potential as well, which I think is what kind of Wukong needed in a way. We'll see how much damage we did in the end. Kind of struggled a little bit in the range versus melee matchup, but that is expected, to be honest with you. I don't think I expected to really do anything else in a range versus melee matchup. I just had to wait for Nautilus to gank me the whole time. 6, 3, and 12 overall, 19,000 damage. So overall, not too bad on the damage front, especially because I couldn't really do that much damage during the laning phase. I mean, Ashe did more damage than me, but because it was a range versus melee matchup, I'll take that. Yeah, you can see my runes there as well. Conqueror, Nullifying All, Bone Plating, and Overgrowth. I went for the more resolve tree this time around. But like I said, hopefully enjoyed the gameplay. Hopefully enjoyed this little bit of rundown of my thoughts on the Wukong rework. As I mentioned, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. And as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next WOD video. Peace.